Give me a second. Alright, hey loves, welcome to the channel. My name is Law. I appreciate all who are tuning in with me. So I did this video before, but I deleted it because I don't know why. So we're gonna redo this video again, and I'm just gonna go off my basic memory and what it is and the steps that I took towards kind of like reparenting myself. So I'm gonna give you guys a little gist about my story. I did write a blog actually about reparenting yourself. You guys can find that in the link down below at the description box. Most of the videos I do, I blog about them before I do them. It's kind of like scripting. Okay. So let's go ahead and make a video for those of you who are interested in reparenting. I'm going to share my story first for an example, my experience, and how this came about. So when I was young, both of my parents were incarcerated. I was raised by the streets, and if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. I was just kind of like met like teachers and mentors, you know, kind of like just out and above. Okay, I was very I wouldn't say lost, but curious is the word I would use. I went to all different types of churches. I went to Muslim church, I went to Christian church, I went to what do they call it? Oh, please forgive me. Belizeans. I don't know what they believe in, but she was Belizean. I went to a bunch of different churches. For some reason, at a very young age, I got very curious about spirituality, even though it was never talked about in my family. My family is not religious. They're not even spiritual. I don't know what they are. They got secrets. It's a lot of secrets in my family, but there was no tradition that was just like passed down. So it's kind of like blind faith, you know, kind of just like going out into the world and learning from my own experience. I do appreciate that they never try to like put their own dogma onto me. Okay, but there are a lot of other things that I unconsciously picked up from my surrounding, as children do between the first ages of, you know, from the moment you're in your mother's womb, however her conscious mind is, that is how your mind will be. That's the DNA that they're sharing. It's their DNA. So your parents' DNA goes into your brain, and then whatever blocks they have or stuff like that, you kind of have to work through that karma. Okay, for some of you it'll be easier, for some of you it won't. This could show up in blockages like just in different blockages. However, the Western astrology would diagnose them like ADHD or just in the Western psychology of how they would diagnose things. Okay, really, it's just like kind of karma within what's going in your DNA and what's blocked and what you can kind of like, what's not blocked. I hope I'm saying that the right way, but what I'm saying is, so I kind of went down the same paths as my parents in the original beginning, to a certain extent. All right, I'm not gonna say what they did because I'm just not gonna do that, and then doesn't really matter. But in a certain extent, I kind of followed that path, learned my lessons, and then I realized by the time I was 21, that I needed to, well, actually before that, let me rewind that, because I actually got pregnant at 16, and when I got pregnant at 16, it made me, I felt like if I could have my own family, I could show them how to do it. It was kind of like I was going through that resentful, that anger stage, like that rebellion stage, like that blame, that victim mindset consciousness, like, well, I'm gonna show y'all how to do it, and I got pregnant. And little did I know, like, our parents can only teach you as far as they go. Like some they just don't know how to do it. And that's one thing that came to me with spirituality was our parents aren't our parents. Like, they're not. Like, at the end of the day, We're all connected to one source, and it's kind of like these are the first relationships. Your parents are the first relationships that you have when you come into this world. So it's like on a connected level. Even though we're all connected, we still have our own individual expression. So it's just kind of like they're your first shadows, I want to say, that you need to integrate when you come here. That's why some of you kind of like, and it's gonna be different for everyone else's. Like it's so dark and deep, like depending on how deep you want to get into it, like knowing your actual ancestral DNA and patterns, blockages, the trauma, what was actually going on in the bloodline, what was interfered. Like that's why I say it's always important to study your last names and the origins of your last names. And then not only that, you want to look into addictions in your family. You want to look into the escapism tactics in your family. Okay, you want to look into the things that were started but never finished in your family. Like, and it really takes a lot, and it can kind of actually distract you from yourself as an individual. But it's like you can't really, you know what I'm saying? You can't really move forward from something that you're not even consciously aware of. So it's like as you come here to earth to work through these energies and kind of dispel any illusions and help others dispel illusions, you're just kind of like needing to pay attention to the wisdom from the experience. And that takes a lot in an individual just to even have that state of consciousness to just be like, okay, well, what am I learning from this experience? How can I, what knowledge can I gain from this experience, and how can I expand on that knowledge and apply it to my life? So that's not the way I originally approached it. The way I originally approached reparenting myself was I noticed my family had money problems, so I figured if I go get money, whatever the sacrifice be, um, that would solve all my problems. Come to find out, that wouldn't even be the very tip of the iceberg. That wouldn't even be the you know what I'm saying? Like that was just like the cherry on top of everything that was going on deeper into the depths of the waters. So um, things I started doing was I started reading books. Now, I highly advise you don't believe everything in books because everybody's own experience is different, whatever it is. Like, even me, when I write books, I write little books. I'm learning how to write bigger books, but I write little books. But it's just like I had to learn psychology, and then not even on top of that, especially if you come from like a family where you guys aren't even all connected. Say you were like adopted or something like that, and you have no idea or clue of what your origins is. Like you're really gonna have to put in the work to find it out if you really want to know the truth of what's trickling down and what's going on within your DNA. Okay. Um, I had to learn about attachment styles. That was very important to me. I had to learn about, and in the end, this all was an illusion. But that's even deeper on another note. We're just gonna keep this kind of like mundane and practical. But I had to learn about attachment styles. Um, I had to learn about different religions. Okay, because I've never felt connected to just like one religion. I always want to learn from all of them because it's just like I know there's one source that we get all of our energy from, but that's not how it's depicted. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you don't have anyone to teach you or tell you that, you're kind of just like floating that way. And then it's like it's very important having a belief system, especially when you're reparenting yourself. Having a belief system is really important, and it's kind of like you have to develop your own belief system when you're reparenting yourself. That's the first most important thing, is developing your own belief system, because where somebody else is at in your life, whatever they're going through, whatever their soul's going through, whatever stage they're at, it might be able to awaken you to something, but that doesn't mean that's where you're supposed to be at. That's another thing that I struggled with as well. Like, oh, well, this is working for this person, so this should work for me. No, 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 no. Yes, you can try to be curious. Maybe it might open a different door or give you a different perspective. Okay, it could work out for you, or it could even take you lower than where you already were before. But the fact that is you're exploring um, different ideologies can unlock something within your DNA. So I just want to be careful and let be care. I just want to be careful. I just want to let you guys know that adopting somebody else's belief system can actually be the detriment of you reparenting yourself. Okay, and what I mean by reparenting ourselves is not finding security within other individuals, finding security within yourself first and foremost, in your own soul. Okay, there's so many, everyone, like, everybody wants to be a leader, everybody wants to speak, like, whether they're conscious of it or not. Everyone wants their story to be told, heard, whether they're conscious of it or not. There's some people who want to purposely destroy other people's stories and whatever it is because they're not even conscious of their own. They feel like they're not worthy of their own. So one thing about reparenting is it will help you understand that we live in an abundant plane, no matter how hard it was for you. And I can't speak for that because I don't know how my heart. That's another thing that I realized: downplaying your trauma. Downplaying your trauma. And this might seem like I'm kind of like contradicting some things, because from my higher perspective, my higher self, which I'm deeply connected to, I see it as all illusions, and that was a role I was playing. I look at it as a movie. But when I come down to like my lower mundane self, I see it as this was trauma, this was an injustice, and in a sense, that's one way to look at it, from a victim consciousness. And then you can raise your consciousness higher and you can look at it as, oh, this happened for me, not to me. Now that I have this wisdom, I can help others, be a gateway, and help those out of those help others out of those predicaments. And I feel like I was tongue tied and I'm battling myself right now to even speak on what needs to be spoken on. So I'm just kind of going off of the dome of what's coming to my mind. But the things that happened were for the evolution of your soul. So maybe you were, and I don't want to bring aliens into this, but I want to bring aliens into this. It's like eons and eons ago. It's like maybe you come from a bloodline who isn't as evolved. Maybe your bloodline at some point decided to devolve. They decided to kind of just become atheists. Let's use that example. Maybe you guys come from a bloodline who's atheist. They don't believe in nothing. They don't believe in nothing. Nothing exists. All of this is just a bunch of hoopla. They don't believe in nothing. That could be really hard for an individual, especially when they're going through things in life. That could make a person shut off their heart chakra completely and become like a real live killer or something like that. Or let's even talk about serial killers and stuff like that. Like, this is why it's important to know what's in your DNA and what's going on in your brain. Because it's like certain individuals are born with different aspects that other individuals aren't born with, but that doesn't mean that they can't develop those ways. That's why I think it's so important to kind of like, but I don't want to tell nobody, like, it's so important to kind of like play around. Like, I'm not telling you to play with your soul, but like kind of like, okay, it's so important. And I totally wiped my makeup off on that eye. It's so important to like, I was rubbing my eye, oh my gosh. Anyways, it's so important to study, okay, you guys? That's mainly what I'm saying when it comes to reparenting yourself. You want to study yourself. Like, you want to study your cousins too. You want to study everybody, and you want to look at them as mere reflections of an aspect of yourself, of your soul, of the Most High. You want to look at all that and remember, like, Everything is like its own little individual particle, right? So if Tommy is so look at it like this. Oh, this is the worst example, and I'm so sorry, guys. And no offense, trigger warning to anyone who's experienced this before. Say Tommy's dad is a woman beater, and then um, Tommy's mom is a drug addict, right? Boom. That's gonna give somebody up. Like their whole outlook on life is gonna be like, depending on how evolved their mind is or how evolved their soul is, the person could either A, become a drug addict like their mother, or they might go through a phase of where they become a drug addict, or they can become a woman beater like their father. But also those could be aspects of their souls. Maybe they did that in a past life. Maybe they're in their future life they could be doing that, and that's why in this life they incarnated with those parents to teach them lessons about those dark, ooh, I don't want to say entities, dark shadow versions, because these are versions. How dark something could get. It's like losing pieces of your soul and then it having to be integrated back into you. So it's really important that you try different things like hypnosis. Okay, you can even try Reiki. People be afraid of Reiki. Go get needles done. Like, you really just kind of want to learn about the human is what I'm saying, like the human. You want to learn about the human. You want to learn about health problems in your family, and after you learn the health problems, you want to learn about the deeper spiritual meanings it could be behind those health problems. Like, the whole point of reparenting yourself is you're unlearning everything that you were taught, all the projections, because we're a recorder from the time you're in your mother's womb to the time you are 7. You have already have a programmed unconscious mind. It's programmed, completely programmed. So in order for you to tap into things that you're not even aware of, things that you just do, it's kind of like living on autopilot. For a lot of the years of my life, early years of my life, I was on autopilot. It was the same thing all the time. It was the same thing, autopilot. And it was like I wasn't even in control of my vessel and what I had going on. Like, I was, but I wasn't, because it was kind of like I was playing out a movie of everything I had recorded and the way that my soul perceived it. And then when I kind of awoke into that and the movie stopped, it was like, oh my gosh, that's all that I learned. Now what, how can I unlearn this, and then how can I teach individuals from what I learned in my upbringing and my experience? So it kind of went like that for me. For you it may be different, but reparenting yourself is about learning what you learned and then unlearning it, and then implementing what it is you want, what it is your belief system is. Whether that's not the same from Brittany, Sue, Bob, who cares? Nobody cares. And that can get very lonely, and it can get very, like, especially if you deal with like trust issues, okay? Because that could be something that develops. You're going to have to unlearn that, and you're going to have to take all those blockages, because that's what I'm seeing, like a blockage over your eyes. It's like there were blockages put in front of your eyes, and it's like you're gonna have to like move those blockages out the way so you can really see with your eye, like, so you can really see what's going on. Because in the end it's kind of like humans are very they form habits, whether it's healthy habits, bad habits. We form habits, like, and that's hard. Like, one thing that really helped me with reparenting myself as well was for like 1990 on the clock, one day straight, not one day straight, but like for 30 days straight, every day, like, pay attention to your habits. Write down what you're doing at every hour of the day. Like, really pay attention to consciously. This is how you can become conscious, aware of what it is you're actually putting your power and energy into. Because you got to remember, you're the vessel, you're the channel of source. Source is coming out of you. So it's like whatever you're engaging in, whether you're unconsciously or consciously aware of it, you're welcoming that into your spirit. So that's what's going to manifest in your life. And that's another thing that I had to notice as well. That's why I don't scroll on TikTok. I be having to stop myself from scrolling on YouTube. Like, pay attention to every hour of the day. Do this for like a whole month straight. And then you can go through and you can see the habits, you can see the patterns, and you can see your triggers. Once you get those three mastered, you can start rewiring yourself, and it's gonna take time. Don't get impatient. I struggle with patience, but I am patient. I'm claiming that I am patient. Don't get impatient, okay? And normally when you tell somebody to not do something, they do that anyways. So let's do a little reverse psychology here, y'all. But this is how I learned from my experience, and I'm still in the process of this. Like, and I would struggle and go back, like, say something would trigger me. I would struggle and go back to something that I already said I was done with. Like I said, I was done with that. Why am I doing that? It's kind of like embracing the unknown, and I don't want to say like assuming, because assumptions can be very bad for you as an individual as well. This is kind of like a knowing, like a deep knowing within yourself. And the only way you're going to do that is by studying yourself and studying the individuals around you. So I feel like I've been rambling for 20 minutes. I can't even remember everything I was just talking about. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Once again, check out my blog. I wrote a little easier for you guys because this message was kind of like everywhere. I did write a blog. It's called Reparenting Yourself. You can read that, and it kind of gives you a little more structures. But I also dropped a bunch of diamonds in here for you guys. Thank you for tuning in with me. I wish you all the best of luck, and take care.